Laughing Loon presents Building Ootek, Part 3. The kayak pictured here is Ootek, designed and being built by Rob Max. The building shown here is a condensed version of the more detailed information in my instruction books and how-to videos available on my website. In Part 2 of Building Ootek, we finished stripping the sides of the Ootek. Now we'll work on the bottom of the hull, closing up the gap between the side strips and the keel strips. Usually when I strip around the bilge, that is the curved transition from the side of the hull to the bottom of the hull, I have to do some hand beveling to make the strips fit that curve. But on this one, I actually put a 5-degree bevel on the opposite side of my strips that had a 3-degree bevel, and I went around the bilge without having to hand plane. Once I bring the strips up from the sides around that bilge curve toward the flat bottom section, I will continue to add strips from the keel out to those bilge strips. For these bottom strips along the keel, I fit one end, mark it when I like it. Then I go down to the other end and I'll make a cross mark. Now to fit the other end, I will move that cross mark past so that I have excess, and I'll mark the angle, draw the line, and then cut and plane to fit this end. Once I like the fit of that piece, I get the shape right, it fits snug. All I need to do is keep slowly planing away and test fitting until I make that X mark a line, and then I know my strip is the correct length. Then I'm ready to glue it in place. Tack the strip to the stations with hot glue, align the edges between stations with spring clamps, and continue the process. Fitting the last two strips is a little more challenging. I have to transfer the gap measurement to the strip so I can have a series of dots which I'll connect with a line to guide my utility knife to create the taper. I shape the end of the strip with a block plane, planing to the line that I drew before. Now I'll test the fit. And test the fit. And test the fit. And test that fit until I'm happy with it. Then I'll mark the fit with a line and go down, make myself an X for alignment here, and work on the other end. I'm using a headlamp here. It's a good idea for me. It gives me a bright light exactly where I'm looking. It doesn't show up too well here in the video though, so forgive me. Transfer the gap measurements onto the strip end. Connect the dots to define the shape of the taper. Trim away the excess. Then shape the taper with a block plane and test the fit. Now the skinny long ends of these pieces can dive below the surface, so I hot glue a little bridging piece across right at the tip of where that strip will be so it can't dive below the surface. Once again, it's shape the taper with a block plane and then test the fit. And taper and fit. I use a scrap strip to support the delicate tip of the taper while I'm using the block plane to shape it. Once I have the correct shape of the taper to fit the opening, I remove excess until my alignment marks meet. Here I'm clearing out some hot glue squeeze out which was inhibiting the fit. Once the fit and length is good, I glue it in place and move on to the final strip. For the final strip, it's the same process. Measure the gap, transfer it to the strip to define the taper, rough cut it, shape it with a block plane, test fit over and over until it fits perfectly. Then it's time to glue the last strip in place. Tack the edges with some hot glue. And once all the glue is cured, I'll take this big honkin' scraper and remove all the hot glue beads. This scraper has a slightly convex blade, so it really allows me to get all the final glue off. The more carefully and thoroughly I remove all the glue, the easier sanding will be. It's really worth the time and effort to get every single bit of glue off. It'll keep your sandpaper from getting clogged up, and it will make it much easier to sand. In part 4 of building Ootek, we'll move on to sanding. For more information on my strip building techniques, see my shop tips pages at laughingloon.com. Full plans for the Sea Kayak Ootek, along with many other canoe and kayak plans, instruction books, and how-to videos are available at my website, laughingloon.com.